We're quite excited about what you can read up here. A brand new surface treatment, unlike any other surface treatment or disinfectant that you've probably ever heard about. We sum it up in basically one big word: microbium. Microbium is a system that offers a new level of treatment in helping to control the transmission of disease from people to people, from animals to people, and so on. Excuse me, I have to start another slideshow. You'll recognize many of the names that are coming up there as things that we read about in the newspapers quite often. In particular, lately in Hong Kong, we've had a serious increase in MRSA, or the superbug, in the hospitals here in Hong Kong. But these are just a few of the microbes that can actually affect not only you personally, but entire countries. They're already showing resistance to drugs, and they're very hard to control once they get inside your body. So the idea is to use a non-toxic, safe method to prevent them from ever getting close to you. The product comes from Soilbind in the UK. This product has a long history. Antimicrobial products have had a history of over 20 years, a number of different patents, a number of different approvals for the components that are used in our product. You can read down through here. It's been used for many, many years in various forms. I'm not going to answer too much technically about the product. I just want to give you a few ideas about the product, and Dr. Garner is going to go into a much more technical description. Microbium system is a system. It comprises of several different products. We have a product called Deep Clean, which is used to prepare surfaces for the application of Super Seal A, which is the actual antimicrobial coating which remains on a surface for a long time. We have a Daily Cleaner product, which we call a Daily Clean. Obviously, this is used to maintain the integrity of the surface by a gentle cleansing action to remove microbes as they might build up and die on the surface. And finally, we have the most unique part of the system, which is the ability to test it. It's called Monitor. The ability to test it in place, anytime, anywhere, and see that it's actively still there just by using a simple UV flashlight. So how do we use this product? All surfaces, including clothes, carpets, tabletops, all surfaces have some form of biofilm on them because these microbes will attach themselves and stick to clothing and stick to surfaces. So the first thing we have to do is we have to get rid of this original biofilm and get a clean surface so that we can apply a product called the Microbiam. We can spray or wipe the Super Seal solution on. We allow it to dry, and it leaves a surface of what we refer to as little tiny spikes, or the actual part of the chemical that does the killing. We can monitor and check that we're covered when we do the first application by simply using the monitor solution and illuminating with a UV light. When you look at how it actually works, it's a molecule which Dr. Garner is going to explain that hooks into the surface and hooks into the molecules that are next to it. There it goes. It actually builds up a completely interlocking surface coating about 10 microns thick. As you wipe it on and spread it, it fills all the crevices. It'll fill the top parts of the surface. And the way it works is that when microbes come in contact with it, they're actually punctured. We go right through the membrane. It kills the microbes, which we then have to clean off on a regular basis. Now, what we normally do today is we try to use something like Clorox or Dettol, and we wipe down a surface and we kill the bugs. But as soon as that Clorox or Dettol or other solutions, alcohol or whatever you may use, as soon as it dries, it stops killing, where ours continues to actively kill for a long, long time. We do have to keep removing, though, this layer of dead microbes to keep the product effective. Regular cleaning with deep clean or daily clean will restore the surface activity, and we can always check at any time with our torch to see that we're actually still killing the bugs. The nice thing about the torch is it allows you to inspect fairly large surfaces and determine that, wow, this surface is still doing very well, but over here, maybe it's a doorknob, and so many people have grabbed the doorknob that we've rubbed the stuff off. We can test that, and we can then reapply just to the doorknob. Therefore, it's a very economical long-term solution. As a definition, biocides are intended to kill or otherwise exhibit an inhibiting effect by a chemical or biological means. So a chemical, as a pesticide, is capable of killing living organisms. So it happens that we would classify microbium as a pesticide or a biocide. However, the nice thing about it is it's more than just a disinfectant, because once it locks onto the surface, it is completely toxic free to us or to our pets or to our children. Eventually, with the chemicals that we've been using up to now, and as I just got an article off of a newspaper a couple of days ago, these chemicals are getting stronger and stronger because the bugs we're trying to kill are more and more immune to them. Microbium contains no heavy metals. It's completely non-toxic. Once locked into a surface, it's impossible basically to get it off, short of sanding it, filing it, or wearing it off by abrasion. But even if you do take it off like that, it will not go into the groundwater. It will not go into our environment and cause any long-term difficulty. There's a term for these kinds of chemicals, a kind of measurement to see how dangerous they really are to people. It's called LD50. An adult would have to drink much more than a container like this in one go before you would have any serious effects on killing people or affecting your illness. Once it's dried in place, there's absolutely no way it could be toxic to anybody. After we initially clean with our deep clean and then we apply the super seal, you do have to keep cleaning the surfaces regularly, but everybody's doing that anyway. What we're talking about is changing and removing the Cloroxes, the heavy detergents, the bleaches, the things that we're doing now are no longer necessary. There are many chemicals that have just been building up into our water systems that are now going to cause us trouble, and our children more trouble than they're causing us, but we're not going to have that problem with our surfaces. Depending upon the wear and abrasion, how much people rub it, touch it, or whatever comes in contact with it, the treatment can remain active for months. I think we've given you some test information. We ran one test out to about 280 days now, I think, isn't it, Ian? 280 days, still 99.98% effective. Obviously, if you have a surface where you have a lot of wear and tear, you will have to treat the surface a little more often. We've tested it on a lot of cloth materials, put it into washing. After 50 washes, we're still 85% effective. However, the secret is you can continue to add microbium to the washing treatment and super seal, or the deep clean, and remain 100% effective under a regular maintenance program. As I said, we can test by using the special, went too far, by using the special torch with the monitor. Anybody with about 3 minutes worth of training can learn how to tell whether the surface is still active or not. More than just saying that the surface is still active, supervisors can monitor the cleaning people at any time by going around and checking that the cleaning people have actually done their job. As I said, we can spot apply the super seal anytime we need on any specific part without having to spend money to recoat the entire surface. So the ability to just touch up where needed is going to save a lot of money in the use of this product. Normal, regular maintenance schedules and rigorous cleaning are still essential. The Microbiam Super Seal becomes only a tool to help you maintain sanitary surfaces much, much easier and much, much safer than what's been available in the market now. Obviously, everybody wants to know what it costs. There are so many variables that I cannot give you a direct answer to the question. It depends upon the surface. If you're treating material, it's going to take more of the super seal than it does to treat, say, concrete or ceramic tile. It depends upon how often it's washed, how much abrasion it gets. But what we have found out, that when you calculate out, we're basically talking only cents per square foot for the application life of the product. It's an extremely economical solution, as well as being very, very safe for us and our children. There are a number of applications that we can use. Of course, we've invited people from a great cross-section to join us. You can use this in hospitals. Hospitals and schools will probably be our primary first push to get the product in. Obviously, we can use it in all public buildings. Today, where you see the little sign that says sanitized every 2 hours, we'd like to see it replaced with treated by Microbiam. You don't have to treat every 2 hours now. Once a day is sufficient. Hotels, elevators, escalators, restaurants, even the rooms. I read a study came out about a month ago, said the dirtiest thing in a hotel room today is the TV remote control. We can put this product on a TV remote control when it's being manufactured. We can use it in central air conditioning works. We can use it in sports stadiums, public markets, wet markets, dry markets, trains, airplanes, buses, taxis, cars, you name it. I remember so well a couple of years ago when we were right in the midst of coming out of SARS, where the government produced this wonderful video showing a guy sneezing on his hand, getting off the green minibus, grabbing the bar, and hopping off, and, don't touch, don't touch. Well, we have a solution for that, because you can put Super Seal on basically any surface you want. Private transportation, you can use it in your own car. Emergency response teams, even on throwaway clothing. Everything that you do to help prevent the disease getting into you, every step you take is a little bit closer to being perfect. You can use it in your homes, with your pets, your children's play areas. We have not designed the product to be effective or work on surfaces where you prepare food, but you can use it on surfaces where you store food. And the only reason for this is it takes buku big bucks to go to the FDA for them to test it and see what it does to people. And it's a different product when it's on a surface as when it's in a liquid form. So we will eventually probably see ourselves there. Special applications. We can incorporate this product into the manufacturing process where products are made, so that manufacturers can put on their label, on their product, that this product is coated with Microbiam and is hopefully much, much safer, especially for kids' toys or things like that. We can supply in small sizes. Our standard size are 5-liter bottles, because our initial market is with industry and commercial users. So in short, suitable for a wide range of applications and surfaces. It offers long-term protection unmatched by any other product available today. We are interested in talking to people about new applications. And I can't think of a meeting that I haven't been to in the last 6 months where we thought of some other new way we could use the product, some other thing we could offer. So we'd like to talk to you if you have any special problems, cleaning problems, or problems with, basically anything. The transmission of disease is our primary concern, but I think you'll find that the cleaning products, the cleaning side of this, is much more effective and just as economical, if not more economical, than what you're already using just for standard cleaning. So we're happy to answer any questions you might have about using, applying, maybe modifying the product a little bit for a specific application. It's more up to you now. We have the product available in stock. We can deliver today or tomorrow. Now with that, I'm basically just going to turn over the meeting to Dr. Vick. And I hope that you'll always remember the name Microbiam when you start to see it on the elevators and in the laboratories and the different parts around town. All of these are registered trademarks from Soilbind in the UK.
Right, thank you very much. Just a little bit of a technical changeover there, and it's my turn. Now, perhaps I ought to just explain a little bit about the forensic archaeologist. What's an archaeologist doing talking about cleaning and antimicrobial things? Well, my interest has been the origins of disease, and a few years ago I was working on some ancient Egyptian artifacts, carrying out the analyses to find out what the ancient Egyptians did, and it's quite surprising how they got some pretty good ideas on how to deal with infection without really knowing what the mechanism of infection or sepsis or antisepsis really was. So that's where the archaeology bit fitted in, but for many, many years I've had this interest in the chemistry of disease and dysfunction, and it's that I want to talk to you a little bit about this afternoon. It's going to be some fairly deep chemistry. I make no apologies for that. A lot of you are scientists or got a scientific interest in what's going on. I need to explain to you the logic of what's different about microbiome and how it works. And really, I'm going to jump straight into here with the quaternary ammonium compounds. These are not the same as ammonia, you know, the stuff that you get in the cleaner's cupboard. You take the top off and you're holding it at arm's length because, you know, the smell is absolutely horrendous. It's toxic. It's nothing like that. These quaternary ammonium compounds have been around for quite some time, and they've been used for quite important applications. Whenever I go abroad, get on the plane, I take some quaternary ammonium compounds with me because they're superb for killing bugs, especially those coming through the aircon. The important thing about this is the quaternary. An ammonium compound would have a central nitrogen atom which carries a positive charge, hence ammonium. But with quaternary ammonium, instead of having hydrogens attached, we have alkyl groups, usually 2 methyl groups, and alkyl groups as well. One of those alkyl groups could be another methyl, so you could have 3 methyls, or you could have 2 alkyls, say 2 octyl groups, 2 decyl groups. Various sizes, various lengths. The important thing is there are no free hydrogens on there. These are quaternaries. They're a lot safer than ammonia. That is the starting point for the work on the biocides on the microbiome. These quaternary ammonium compounds, as I say, have been used for quite a long time. They're efficacious. They have a very good remnant effect. They're stable. They're very easy to formulate. You can put them into a whole variety of different materials over a wide pH range. They have very little odour, very little taste, so it's quite easy to fragrance them as well. So ideal commercial products. When you compare the quaternaries against various other biocides or effect molecules, you've got quite a nice pH range. Minimum pH is operating between 1 and 14. Well, the quaternaries, you can operate over most of that range, whereas other biocide types, the phenolics, phenol of course was one of the very first biocides, if you like, although it wasn't called a biocide then, introduced 150 years ago by Lister and Lemaire, and still used to this day, you know, the carbolic soaps and so forth. Iodine containing materials, you can only use them over a very narrow range, and likewise with hypochlorite or the bleachers, again you've got a restricted range. For cleaning, the quaternaries win hands down, far better than the other materials. They're also low staining. Go and wash your hands with phenolics and you can smell the phenol for quite a long time. They do hang around, and then if you go along and get hold of some food or something like that, you transfer that odour to the food. Dermal penetration is low, so in other words it doesn't go into your skin, doesn't last there for a long time, and from the commercial point of view, very, very good storage conditions. It lasts for a long time. Looking at disinfection and sanitisation, and I'll also come up with some definitions in a moment, but not too bad. Okay, perhaps not as powerful as some of these other materials, but what I say is, do you really want your kitchen or your bathroom smelling like a public laboratory? You know, these things will work, but so will the quaternaries, provided you give them the time to work. So, definitions. There's a lot of definitions around, and I'll show you how this all fits in, but generally speaking, when we're talking about sanitizers, we're talking about a material that's going to reduce a population. It's not going to kill every bacterium, it's not going to kill the spores, but it's one particular level. Disinfectant takes it that little bit further. You get more killing of the organism. And a sterilant, these are the very, very toxic chemicals, and you do sometimes have to be very, very careful in using them. And one of my other roles in the UK is to go around and look at the health and safety of using some of these sterilizing materials. Sometimes the sterilant is so toxic that the worker going back into that area becomes quite seriously injured because of the residual sterilant. Well, that's the EPA's look on the definitions. There are other definitions that you can use. A disinfectant is when you've got very, very high populations of bacteria or fungi and soil or dirt. Whereas biocides, this is a much more modern term. Essentially, these are preventing, or any material that prevents degradation or putrefaction, and particularly of organic materials. Not only food products, but wood and concrete. And concrete will degrade with certain biological organisms. Antiseptics, that now tends to be a term used for considering infection, and particularly on body surfaces, where sterilants is now considered a term purely for areas and zones. For instance, a room, you go in and sterilize a room, or sterilize an animal house or something like that. When you look at quaternary ammonium compounds, and I'm taking one particular group of quaternary ammonium compounds where we've got two big long chains, like the dialkyls, or for example a didecyl system, with two methyl groups on the ammonium chloride. These units are in ppm, and we've got three groups of organisms here. On the left we've got the some bacteria, and not bad. Okay, there's quite a variation here, but for Bacillus subtilis, that's fairly respectable in terms of its antimicrobial action or its antibacterial action. With Pseudomonas, not quite so good, but nevertheless, you can tackle Pseudomonas, and given time, you can knock the Pseudomonas out, as we proved. In fact, we deliberately targeted Pseudomonas in a lot of our tests because it was the worst case situation. With the algae, quite superb, 0.2 parts per million. It's terrific activity that for knocking out the greenness on, say, decking or on paths. And fungi, again, not too bad. This is the one that I was particularly interested in, the black mold that you get in bathrooms. Be very interesting for the hotel management to try this thing out in one or two of the bathrooms here. You go and have a look on the ground. It's a beautiful growth medium for Aspergillus. Gets in there, and Aspergillus, of course, in a situation that we encountered on Monday, one of the members of the audience was very interested in transplant operations, and Aspergillus on the transplant organ can cause death not only to that organ, failure of transplant, but also failure of the person who's receiving that organ. So Aspergillus is quite an important area, and the quaternaries are very, very good at taking Aspergillus out. We actually initiated some tests back in the UK about a year ago with Aspergillus, and we still have not got the mold growing on those test samples. Absolutely incredible. Right, I warned you you're going to get some chemistry. Well, here's some more chemistry. This is what a molecule would look like on a molecular drawing program. Here's, this one is didecyl, dimethyl ammonium chloride. We've got two long 10 carbon chains. There's one running down the back, one running down this side. There's the central nitrogen atom, the ammonium, and then we've got a methyl coming out here and another methyl going behind. You see that shape? It's one of these amphoteric molecules where you've got a combination of non-polar organic character and polar inorganic character, and it's this amphoteric or semi-polar system that gives it its particular properties. So if you put this material, for example, into water, it would assemble itself, and you produce these supramolecular structures. The blue circles represent the polar head units, or the ends where the charged structures reside, and these straggly bits down here, these are the non-polar tails. So put it into water and you would get that sort of system, which is known as a micelle. Very, very important for drug delivery, but also important in an industrial application as well, because if you put this sort of molecule into oil, it's inverted. So you get the polar heads, which are normally soluble in water, they assemble this way around with the tail sticking outwards into the oil. And that is in fact a very, very crucial way of delivering some drugs. But that's another story. We have the micelles, that's the important thing. And now let's look at a cell structure, because within the cell structures, you can see this one came from the one of the Microsoft programs, one of the encyclopedia. All cells contain membranes. You've got an outer membrane, you've got cell walls, you've got membranes within the organelles in there. All these membranes are in fact composed of molecules very, very similar to these quaternary ammonium compounds. They are composed of these amphoteric molecules. Again, a diagram taken off the web showing this idealized structure of a cell membrane. And in this particular diagram it talks about sticky heads. In other words, these are the polar bits that all stick together and are pointing towards the water, whereas the slippery tails, these are the non-polar bits that all link together, like dissolves like, and in a real situation the polar or anionic heads are in fact phosphate groups, whereas the non-polar tails, unlike our quaternaries, instead of them just being hydrocarbon chains, these are in fact peptide and glycan chains. We don't need to go any further into the chemistry of that. The main thing is that you've got polar and non-polar, and these things assemble themselves together like a flattened micelle. Now, when we start looking at particular organisms, bacteria, a long time ago, an old European German chemist called Gram developed a stain in order to identify different types of bacteria. And this classification is still used. You know, talk about gram-positive and gram-negative. Well, Gram's stain was essentially a mixture of two dyes, crystal violet and safranin. And the structures here of crystal violet and safranin, quite big molecules, aromatic systems. The blue bits are nitrogen systems, and the whole system is positively charged. So you think about positively charged systems, negatively charged polar heads in the membranes, in the micelles. You can see why the positively charged bits of Gram stain suddenly became attracted to the negatively charged bits of the membrane. So that's why the crystal violet, and likewise with the safranin, where you've got 4 components, and again with a charge spread out over the whole system, that material would also be attracted to the anionic heads in the membranes. So if you've got a whole series of anionic systems in the cell wall of the bacterium, that would attract these materials, and then you would have a gram-positive. If it was a gram-negative, you must have a different sort of cell wall, different sort of membrane, and the material was not attracted. With the introduction of electron microscopy and fairly sophisticated mass spectrometric analysis, you can actually look at the individual components in these different bacteria, and it's now down almost to the level of taking a single bacterial cell, isolating a bit of the cell wall and getting that into a mass spectrometer. It's very, very exciting stuff, and I could spend several hours talking about that. I'm not going to, don't worry. But, oh gosh. Anyhow, the main thing is that there is a defined structure. The crucial thing is that you've got the non-polar parts with a polar part, and the cell surface in the gram-positive bacterium is very strongly polar. Not only is it strongly polar, it's negatively charged, and hence that's the binding to the gram stain. Whereas in the gram-negative bacterium, it's quite different. Well, not too different. The difference is in a multi-layer structure, and it's this composite structure which gives the strength to the gram-negative bacteria. That's why they tend to be a little bit more difficult to knock out. It's because of this layering, but nevertheless each of those membranes is set up in exactly the same way as a standard membrane. It's got lipid bilayers, it's got these things sitting together, and if we can now impinge on those, if we can perturb those systems, well then we've got a means of killing the bacterium, whether it's gram-positive or gram-negative. Not only the bacterium, we can take fungi out. Fungi are very, very similar. They just have a little bit less of the peptidoglycan layer. Viruses, different sort of system altogether. Rather than these fairly complex lipid bilayers, you've got a protein layer. This is because of the recognition that is required. And with viruses, a lot easier to knock out. The capsid shell, or the outer shell of the virus, say it's composed of protein subunits which are in different geometrical shapes. And it's that geometrical shape that gives the recognition of the virus. So that's how the immunological systems operate. But the virus has got to be able to insinuate itself into the host cell. That's why it has a different system. The virus capsid, of course, now becomes a lot easier to disrupt. It's much thinner. And that is the important thing. You know, we tend to get into a panic when we start talking about viruses, or at least certain people do. They start worrying about bird flu, dog flu, horse flu. Oh gosh, everything's flu. Viruses, if you can catch them before they get into the body, that is the time to actually knock them out. Don't wait until it gets into the body, and then you've got the difficulty of distinguishing between a host cell which is infected with the virus and the host cell that's not infected with the virus. Get the virus whilst it's on the hard surface, and that's why all this barrier nursing is being introduced in all the European hospitals to have a go at the viruses. So H5N1, you know, there was a thing in the press earlier this week, you know, it's some guy who's developed a system, or we were told he's developed a system in order to immunise against H5N1. Well, it's coming, you know, soon, perhaps a few years, but the moment you can kill virus very, very easily. Even H5N1, hot soapy water will kill a virus. You don't need to go too far with it. So what happens when a QAC interacts with a microbe, whether it's a bacterium, a fungus, algae, virus, or what have you? You get this perturbation of the cytoplasmic membrane and also the cell walls. The positive charged nitrogen, that thing that I've been emphasizing all the time, that interacts with the anionic bit, the phosphate groups, the glycophosphates, part of a phospholipid system. So like, the opposite charges, the positive charge and the negative charge, react together. They impinge upon each other. You get this electrostatic interaction. That's the starting point. But it doesn't stop there. Because of our molecule, our quaternary ammonium compound, having this amphoteric or this dual nature of polar and non-polar, the non-polar chains spread out and they insert themselves between the anionic heads so that they can join the non-polar peptidoglycan chains. And it's that insertion in those membranes that is the killing power, the penetrating power of this type of molecule. It causes the formation of micelles, not just of the quaternary ammonium compound, but the quaternary ammonium compound and the organism. Once you start to produce those micelles, you then start to get leaking or leakage of the cytoplasmic material. So in other words, the solution starts flowing out. There's a hole, there's a chink, the material comes out, and you now have and leakage of things like potassium ions and so forth, and that can start occurring at very, very low concentrations. So leakage of the nucleotides, the sugars, and the amino acids, as well as the potassium ions, starts taking place fairly low down, but obviously the extent of the antisepsis is going to depend upon these three things. Everybody realises it's going to depend upon how much antiseptic you've got there. It's also going to depend upon how many bacteria or fungi or what have you've got there. The greater the infection, well then the more antiseptic you're going to require. But what tends to be forgotten is this time element. That is very, very important. A lot of the tests that are carried out on efficacy are perhaps for a minute contact or 3 minutes contact. If you can extend that contact to 24 hours or 24/7 for weeks, you've got a much more powerful tool, or weapon rather than a tool. You've got a very, very powerful weapon to kill those organisms. So, as I said, very, very low concentration levels, down to a few parts per million, you will get stasis, bacterial stasis or what have you. You'll even stop spores from producing the outgrowth. The hyphal growth will be stopped, and we've seen that time and time again. At medium concentration levels, you can then get cell death of the bacteria, and so on. Right. What's special about microbiome? I hope I've shown you that the quaternary ammonium compounds are something that's worth looking at. What have we done to the quaternary ammonium? Well, microbiome has this material that I refer to as a cyquat, a silicon quaternary. There's our quaternary group coming down here with its alkyl chain. Got one big long alkyl chain and a couple of methyls sticking out, and then we've got the nitrogen atom there. Then we've got another chain coming out here which involves a silicon atom with 3 oxygens around it. So this is a silyl oxy group. Try saying that after you've had a few drinks at lunchtime. And compared to our typical quaternary, our didecyl dimethyl ammonium chloride, you can see there's quite a close similarity in these two molecules. So that's what's in microbiome. Here is its actual chemical structure, so if you want to write it down, that's fine. It's registered. If you do write it down, you've got to be able to write down the name and say it. It's dimethyl octadecyl 3-trimethoxysilyl propyl ammonium chloride. And try saying that after a drink of red wine. This material is registered. It's registered with the EU. It's registered in the biocide list. It's also registered with the EPA as a biocide, and it is, as I say, an effective material. The important thing is it's in 2 bits. This molecule has 2 moieties. The quaternary moiety that I've been talking about for the last few minutes, but also this bit, this trimethoxysilyl group. This is the difference. This is the reason why microbiome is unique, and it's the power of the microbiome. Not to kill, but to bind to a surface. It's this group that links the quaternary onto any surface. And what I've done is I've represented a general surface, any substrate. I'm sorry about the amount of information that's on this slide, but you don't need to follow the chemistry too closely. There's our substrate. It can be a whole variety of things, whether it's a plastic, a wood, carbohydrate, or whether it's a concrete, a ceramic, a metal. Somewhere or other there is an oxygenated function. So I've represented that by OH. Here's our molecule, our cyquat with a trimethoxy group. You've got 3 methoxys in there. One of those links on to this hydroxy function in the substrate. So we've now got this material bonded onto our substrate. That was one of the hooks in Nate's animation. The other 2 methoxy groups are still there, and they link sideways to adjacent chains. So you get a sideways or a parallel polymer produced on the surface of the substrate. That polymer is a silicone, right? So you've got a silicone layer with these quaternary groups sticking out from it. So you've effectively produced a polymer on your substrate surface with these quaternaries which are there to puncture the bugs. So that's our standard structure, and you can see you've now got effectively your quaternary ammonium compound like DDAC, but it's now bound onto the surface, and that is the crucial feature of this this effect molecule. Okay, you say, so what? You've got that on there, prove that it's effective. Well, that's what we've been doing over these past several months. We've followed specific protocols, but those protocols of course have got to relate to a material bonded to an insoluble material. It may be a fabric, it may be a piece of wood, it may be a piece of concrete or plastic or what have you. There are standard procedures, but instead of the 1 or 2 minute contact, in every case a 24-hour contact was used. The organisms, a whole variety of organisms were used. Okay, the standards that you would expect, you know, the Staph aureus, the Aspergillus niger, you would expect those. Pseudomonas featured prominently because we knew that Pseudomonas was of course one of the more difficult ones. Pseudomonas, incidentally, you find in a lot of bottles of detergent. It actually eats the detergent. This is the one I'm particularly interested in, Thiobacillus group, because these are the things that cause degradation of engineering systems. These are the things that cause the sulfate reduction, production of acids in oil pipelines and in central heating systems. Okay, if you've got a small central heating system, the damage is not quite so large, but a few years ago, Terminal 2 at Manchester Airport had to be shut down for a week because they got a Thiobacillus infection in it. Substrates that we've tried, natural fibres, synthetic fibres, even the high-level synthetic fibres, metals, aluminium, steel, stainless steel, concrete, ceramics, travertine, marble, granite, you name it, we've tried it, and it sticks well. What sort of results did we get when we put this on? Remember, the 24-hour contact, even at loadings as small as 0.01%. In other words, 100 parts per million of material loaded into a concrete sample. Log reduction factors greater than 4. And the important thing was that that log reduction factor was obtained after 28 days. So not just after you just cleaned it or just applied it, not just a day after or a week after, but 4 weeks later, you've still got this fantastic reduction rate. And the data that we've got from the Hong Kong laboratory that's been doing the independent testing this week, 90 days, and it's still up at more or less 100% kill rate. That is just totally incredible. In some instances we've got a small reduction, and that was because the surface has been subject to a fairly regular washing. So, last slide. The microbium. It differs because it's got this hook that allows you to attach it to a surface, any surface. And once it's attached there, it doesn't come off. There was a whole load of other work where we were using the high-resolution mass spectrometry to show that this linkage did not break. We were detecting down at 1 part per quadrillion. Million. In other words, it was so small, my Dean of Faculty used to say, have you seen any of this yet? It is such a tiny amount of material. This stuff doesn't come off. It's tied on there. You've also got an effective biocide or sanitizer or disinfectant, and the levels, because of that time element, remember the time element I was telling you about? Because of the time element, it's there all the time, you get these very high kill rates. It's almost as a sterilant. It's very powerful. It's unique. It's only available through the germ kill operation. As Nate said, it's come into Hong Kong for a reason, and that's because we want to take it forward. Now, that's only one aspect of the germ kill production. You've got the super seal, which contains the microbium. You've also got a pre-cleaner, a post-cleaner and replenisher, and the monitor. And rather than tell you about the chemistry of those, we thought it would be far better if a demonstration was given to you as to how easy these things were used and what they did. And we've also got a biotrace machine along so you can get an immediate idea of how easy it is to knock these organisms out. So thank you, Mr. Poole, for inviting me here to talk. I do apologise if I bored you with the technical aspects, but I'm afraid that's my hobby and my prerogative as a visitor. Thank you very much for listening to me.
Time is running out now. We have previously sprayed the child's school table there with deep clean prior to lunch, and after it dried off, we then sprayed the super seal on there. And if you would like to come up and have a look, what we will do is we'll put the monitor on the surface. We'll allow the monitor to soak in, and then you will be able to see. Now, on the chair, it is the same material. We will also put a drop of monitor onto the surface of the chair. And then we will then be able to, with water, remove the monitor from both surfaces. And we use this UV light that we've developed to show that a surface will have a glow and the chair surface will not have a glow. And that's using this material that we have here. We also have two tiles, which was previously done, one with and one without. I've shown some of you the product on that it glows. We will then put 2 drops on these 2 surfaces as well to show that on tiles it will highlight, and the one that does not have the Microbiam super seal will then obviously not highlight. What we're doing now is that we'll be dropping some drops on these 2 surfaces first. As you would have seen earlier, we have just covered this surface today. These 2 products here we covered 2 weeks ago. I did it myself. So we will be able to demonstrate previously done and what we actually did today. So please. Just a couple of drops randomly anywhere on the surface. What we've done is actually establish that we've covered this whole area with Microbiam Super Seal, and this one has nothing. So from down there you can see it. We've got a liquid on that and a liquid on that, and we will be wiping it down, take the liquid away, and then I will be able to show you that it will glow, I hope. Delay. One area I'd like to say while we're waiting is that the area that you will see glow does not interfere with the activity of the Super Seal killing the microbes. You can see it there, but it doesn't cover it. All it does is show you that it is resident and doing the job of killing the microbes. So we'll give it a few seconds, and if anybody would like to come up, I can start by showing you the 2 pieces of tile, and I think Mary's seen it already. You can come up and have a look. I've got to be both tiles as well. These lights down a little bit. Thank you. Because now, one of these has, one of these don't have. Okay. So let's go along here. This one is negative. Now, as you will see, that's there, very glowing, because the liquid is the liquid is still there. Now, previously, I've done this one with this as well. Okay, and I even got the name of the company, G-Kill, written like that. That showed me this one has Super Seal A, this one does not have Super Seal A. Now, this one will continue to glow, whereas this one there will be no glow. Allow me just to come back over here. Again, there, just let it down. You'll just wash it off now. Can we have a drum roll? We just wipe it down. And we wipe that one down. And we take a dry piece of cloth, remove the liquid. Okay, showtime. Where's Vic? Okay, here we go. The glow you saw very, very clearly just now is not resident. There is still a little bit of liquid, but the glow is not resident. That one wasn't washed off, yes. This one is washed off, nothing. Now, where was this one? Where did I not do this one? Down here? There you go. There's the globe. So it is there, right? Can you watch the tiles for me, please? So, to be in trouble if there is no globe. And what we do with Daily Clean, you're able then to clean this properly, to remove the dead microbes and allow the surface to contact something else that will come down. And at the moment, 3 months, we have killed MRSA, which is a highly poisonous microbe. And so this little girl is at this point in time, but we will be able to do that. And we've chosen some local cleaning material, and the face mask, obviously, and even simple cotton gauzes, which we have impregnated. And we will show on Wednesday with this and this table, and indeed we will have a plastic surface, which is very important. There's lots of plastics around in Hong Kong. What we're going to do is on Wednesday, 4:30 at the City Garden, we will not only demonstrate that it's there, as we have done here. Where is it? There it is. Yeah. It's still there. The surface is there. But many people will have a question. Is it still killing? Is it still working? We will have another electronic product which we can then verify the amount of bacteria here compared to there. Okay? And by stroking it down, putting it in the chemical, it will tell you just exactly how many bacteria, it's scale, how many bacteria is there and how many bacteria is there. So this will show it is working. Some people will say, yeah, it's there, but is it working? On Wednesday, we will show you how, with bacteria count, that it will work. Okay? So if we come back over here now, my last. Okay. Okay, that's where I put it. And now we come down here. This is what I did before. There's the G-kill. And there it is. Very, very clear. I only did that just now. We did that here. There's nothing really. Okay? But here, very, very strong. So this one has Microbiam supercile. This one is naked and doesn't have it. So you can verify when the contractor says, I've done this room. You can go along and say, no, you haven't, because it's not there. Later on, if you're using the mouse a lot, you're going to finish up that. Does it still have? You shine it on, and yes, it's still there. That means it's still working. So up to 2-3 months possibility that it will kill. And this product will take on just about any microvirus or bacteria. Please come on Wednesday. Dr. Vic Gardner will be there. We'll all be there. We'll have more time. It's more casual. Any questions you have, anybody that you would like to invite just to see it, very welcome. Very welcome. We really look forward to seeing you. And tea and coffee, 4:30, City Garden, North Point. Okay? Sorry? 4 o'clock. Yeah, 4 o'clock, ground floor. As you walk in the City Garden, the function room is on your right. Thank you very much for all coming. We appreciate your time, and we look forward to seeing you on Wednesday. Thank you. What we would like to do now is do a demonstration. We have certain areas. Adak, can you come forward, please? We have some plastic chairs, plastic tables, and some marble material, which we will put the product on, and you can use the. 而家做呢個示範咧，阿德咧就而家第一樣嘢呢，呢張台啊係我哋會攞 deep clean，deep clean 咧就會噴上去，噴咗上去以後咧，我哋會抹乾佢，抹乾咗之後咧就攞個 super seal 咧就擺落去，噴咗落去，好容易咧，平常嘅清潔嘅法子咧就抹佢。因為呢個Super Seal A 咧需要少少時間可以咬入去嗰個 surface 嗰度嘅，咁咧就我哋噴咗以後咧，跟住咧我哋會攞個 Super Seal，Super Seal，there you go，Super Seal A，yeah，OK，噴咗上去，好啦，跟住咧就攞翻嗰塊布咧抹一抹乾佢。
俾幾秒鐘佢，咁佢跟住咧就會乾啦。Okay, now while our duck is wiping that down，各位呢個UV light 咧，呢度有兩塊瓷磚，有一塊咧係搽咗我哋嗰個super CLA， 有一塊咧係冇㗎。咁咧就如果你係一陣間可以近啲睇，因為個燈光咧或者睇唔睇好清楚。So 我呢邊睇落去咧，你照一照咧係冇嘢係顯示得到出嚟嘅。Okay, sir, can you do the same？ 好啦，你見得到呢度咧？大家見唔見到 ？OK， 繼續。我哋喺上邊咧 ，actually 寫咗幾個字咧，就 GQ， 係啦。咁咧呢度咧陣間咧，我哋會擺低佢咧，你會見得到咧係顯示得到出嚟。如果你攞開呢個UV light 咧，就變咗咧睇唔見嘅。Just repeat all of that in English, ladies and gentlemen. We have two tiles. One has microbium on it, one does not. And as you can see, and we will allow you to come a lot closer to have a look closely yourself, that the one that does highlight is the one that has the microbium, whereas the other one with no microbium on it will not highlight. Now a lot of people say, it highlights, but is it killing the bacteria and the viruses? We will now show you in just a few moments, probably after tea, that we have another machine, electronic machine, which shows that it is actually whether there are bacteria on the surface and where there is no bacteria on the surface. So, Duck has now sprayed this area. It's still a little bit damp. We'll leave it to let it dry off. What I would suggest is for a few moments until we set this up properly, 請大家咧係飲杯茶先。我哋 set up 咗咧，咁跟住咧，我會請大家咧上嚟咧，再睇睇我個呢個 finished product。Okay? Thank you.
Can I see you later on? I'll be clear by about
Hold on. Hold on. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
我特登
咁其實如果你拆開咗呢一個穿頭嘅後，再用翻個啲圈去清潔佢嘅話，單入邊周圍有咩可以做到咧？咁除咗你話真係處理事嗰時食嘅，咁當然啦，就可以做得到啦。但係咧，咁抗藥性嘅即係
Yeah.
You want to try to get some more? Have them.
Some more. Thank you, sir. 有杯水喺度。If you'd like to come forward, we will try and demonstrate. First of all, we will do a secondary test with the biotrace machine, which actually detects living organisms on the surface. So please, come forward, come forward. All right, we need a duck, please. Now, first of all, we just sprayed this. This plastic is the same as this plastic, okay? Just a different shape. 呢兩塊膠咧係一樣個物質係嘛 ？Is that right? Okay, thank you. 質地 yes。咁而家呢啲未噴過嘅。好啦，咁而家咧我哋係攞我哋嘅 monitor 咧就點喺度 ，OK？ 咁咧呢張凳當我哋唔知道咧邊個係有呢個擺喺度 ，just here in the middle，yeah。OK， 咁你見得到咧，張凳又有，呢度又有。咁如果我哋攞個 monitor， 熒光出嚟嘅 ，but at the same time 喺一樣嘅時間咧，如果我哋擺喺呢度咧，佢都會熒光。 咁我哋呢就要等佢滲一滲入去，跟住呢攞水清水抹一抹佢，咁呢就睇下邊個會繼續熒光呢，就邊個呢就會俾嗰啲水呢係洗開嘅。Earlier 三塊一模一樣 ，same manufacturer. There's nothing here. Okay, if you come down here, you can see it highlight. Okay, goes along, and I've highlighted there, and I wrote the name G-Kill in the monitor. 所以你見得到呢塊呢有冇係冇嘅。好啦，咁咧呢個 demonstration 呢，我哋係跟住嗰兩個嘅 demonstration 以後呢，就我哋會攞個叫做 BioTrace。係佢呢個 electronic product 咧係可以點得到呢三塊咧邊個有嗰啲微菌，邊個咧係冇嘅。And then this one 清水擺咗落啊。Okay, so we wipe both from the way. Can we switch the light off? Thank you. Just get another torch here. Yes, put that please. Okay, there you go. 好啦，頭先咧可以行近少少。呢度冇洗嘅 ，OK， 但喺呢度咧，佢係攞水洗過，係冇嗰個 highlight 喺度嘅 ，means no microbium. And over here, can you see the highlight there? Can you get a little bit closer?
Go off.
Yeah.
Go off of it.
Okay, go here. Yeah, it's only UV light. So it's there. Whereas here, 頭先噴咗呢度咧你見咧我哋係冇噴嘅。So this proves that microbium is there and working. Now, the question we have is it really killing the microbes? Are there more bugs there than there on there? So, Mary, you choose this one. Okay, we'll do this corner. So what Nathan does is this is a very specific product developed in
Don't touch it.
area. And he'll rub it up and down into the size of a palm to pick up the bacteria from that surface. We don't know what the bacteria is. All we know is we'll see if there's bacteria there, okay? When he's rubbed it, okay, and he's now got picked up enough, he puts it in, punctures it through onto the liquid there, and he shakes it for about 20 seconds. After the 20 seconds, this machine will give you a count of how many bacteria was picked up in the wiping from this surface. This is used internationally and recognized, a little more shaking, recognized internationally as an accepted technology. Put it in.
What did it say? 31,000?
31,000 bacteria. 31,748. We took these three from the back there and we did this one. So 31,1784 RLU, which means, hey, it's not bad, huh? Which means that there is a live organism in this very small area of 31,000. Now, what we have to show you is with the G-Kill system using Microbiam, we'll do the same corner. So Nathan will do the same thing and pick up as much bacteria that he can, and let's compare the one that has Microbiam and the one that does not have Microbiam. Okay, that's the old one. Okay, now Nathan has to shake it for about 20 seconds. Now, we are saying, as a company, that our product is going to kill the bacteria on this surface. When a bacteria dies, the ATP count is 0. Very, very, very quickly. So Nathan now will shake it for about 20 seconds.
Could you just tell me when you did that little tile with the microbium?
Yes. How long ago?
When did you do
Oh,
it?
I did this before Chinese New Year. I was playing in the office and I wrote the name G-Kill, you know, just for fun, just to see if I could see it. So now it is measuring. Now is when I pray, right? It's measuring and 1,087. So With the microbium product on there, there is still a little bit, 1,087. This one had 31,000.
It should be less.
It
much
is.
less.
He touched the cloth.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Thank you very much.
And the other thing is, remember, time has a factor. It doesn't necessarily kill immediately when something lands. So even all of you breathing on it, there is going to be some bacteria there.
The bacteria there.
So,
But the key
but
factor,
it will die. It'll really never ever get to zero.
yes.
But most of our readings are in the low 100s, 200s, 300s for surfaces like this.
So, in a three-step test to show that the bacteria is, or virus, bacteria, fungus, living organism, it's dying there, but it's not dying there. Now, this machine is very expensive. So we have three steps to prove that that is there. The first step is to show you that the material is there, it should be killing. Second step, if you or your organization wants to be very, very sure, we can then use the biotrace. We can come into your office, your mouse or your tie or whatever, and we can wipe it down and get the test. The third test is the laboratory test. And we have, when you leave, we will have a brochure with a report is from the Hong Kong Polytechnic. And the MRSA is a very naughty bug. It's very hard to kill. You know that, right? And the Hong Kong Polytechnic have tested 30 days, and it has found a 100% killing rate in a laboratory test. Now, they're not my company. They're independent. We gave them these things, and they ran the test, and this is their results. It's not my results. And then subsequently, on a much longer term, with another bacteria called E. coli, which is quite naughty. A lot of children catch E. coli. We have been running a test with the Hong Kong Standards and Testing Organization since last year. The last test that they did, batch reduction on day 217 of 99.68. That's 7 months later. Chatkoyu. It's still killing at a rate of 30,000 to 1,000. It really does work. It's very easy. You saw our duck spraying the table. It's not that difficult. But the next bug, as we're breathing, the next bug that falls on there will be dead. The next bug that falls on there will be alive. And that is the difference. The cleaning lady is cleaning the dead bodies from there. The cleaning lady is cleaning the live bodies from there. So if you put your hand on here, like I did, at least 25,000 bugs.
Don't shake his hand.
Yeah, don't shake my hand anymore. I just say goodbye. So the cleaning lady with the mop or the thing, and she's spreading it here and spreading it there. All those bugs are being spread out. Whereas here, she's actually cleaning dead bugs. She's picking up dead cells and opening the surface for the next cells to go in. And based on the test from the Hong Kong standards, almost 7 months later, you can still feel confident that that's clean. So when your children or your patients or your friends put their hand on, "Hi, how are you?" Okay, I can shake your hand. I'm willing to shake your hand. It's non-toxic. I use it in my family home. My children clean their toys with it. I know it's safe. They can drink a little bit of it. They won't die. They can, sniff on it. You know what children do. And in schools, very important. I'm sure a lot of you, children, patients, and people in Hong Kong, to be a little cleaner so that H5N1, SARS, E. coli doesn't get in the system because it's not alive anymore. And with that, thank you very much for coming today. Appreciate it. Please have some more tea, coffee, and sandwiches. If you have any questions, Atak is available. I'm available. If you have any technical questions, Vic is also available.
I think the most important question will be
Yes.
how much the price.
Okay. A good question. No. We have done some analysis. If you say the comparison for one bottle of this compared to one bottle of Clorox you have to use every day.
Yeah.
And one thing very important to our company and to Vic and to the company in England, the environment. Clorox is going into the groundwater, is going into the harbor. It's going to affect our children. not us. We're too late. We're too old, you know. But it's going to affect our children and our grandchildren. Clorox, over the last 15 years, every year they're making their products stronger and stronger and stronger because the viruses and the bacteria are creating a resistance to the poisoning system that they are. We do not poison. All through the years that come, they will still die. Sorry? No mutations, yes. So you don't have H5N1, H5N7, H5N9, H5N10. We will kill all of them because they are a single cell bug. They come from influenza A. Very simple. It's just changed so antibacteria using poisoning system cannot kill it. It's stronger. With us, bang, he dead. No problem. So if
the knife doesn't make any noise.
yeah, a knife, okay, it's a knife. We have a knife sticking out there. But it's very, very important. Yeah, it's very, very important to understand. We have done a lot of tests on this, and it is very safe for us, the environment. The only one it's not safe for is the bugs. It's the viruses, the bacteria, and the fungus, and the spores. That's what's dangerous to this.
So will you provide the prices?
Yes, we will. Not tonight. The prices will come from our Duck and our Hong Kong distributor. Please just tell them you want the prices. We'll have them sent over to you. One more thing, very important, as you're asking about price. How far does this go? Okay. Here is 1 liter of deep clean. Well, let's not talk about deep clean for the moment. Let's go with Super Seal A. How much spread do I get? It really depends. If you're spraying this kind of surface, okay, you're looking at 1 liter for about 15, 20, 25 square meters. Okay, 250 square feet on 1 liter. Because 佢唔會係好吸水啊, you know, so 係一個好thin 嘅 layer 喺上邊. However, if you're spraying it on this, it will absorb. So it might be 1 to 10 square meters, it might be 1 to 12 square meters. It depends on the material that you spray it on. But on average, 15, 20 square meters on hard surfaces, I don't think there's a problem. Well, we did 1 liter. I think you can't really see it. We measured it exactly to 1 liter. I duck sprayed that. You know, yeah, 有排, that's right. It goes very far. And remember, Super Seal A, you only do 1 every 2, 3 weeks, a month, sometimes even 6 months. You don't need to do it again. Deep clean, 1 month, 6 months. The only one that you will use every day is the daily clean. That's the one Assam has to go and, you know, take care and clean it and wipe it down, right? This is the one that has to be used frequently. Those two, you cover this room, you put them away. You don't really do a second application until you see, wait, we have to do it. Now, let me give you an example. If this table is covered with the materials already, you can. If you don't have our system to show that it's there or not there, being an administrator in a hospital, no. Being an administrator in a hospital or a school, wait, mola, panzai ko sin na. You know, spray it all, cover it over, just to make sure, so my children are safe. Whereas with our system, we're actually helping you save money. If you come along here and you shine the torch and you say, you see, then you take a little bit and you cover that. You only cover what's needed. Saves you money and you know you're protected. Whereas if you come up here and you come along here and you say, oh, so instead of covering it all the time, you're only covering what's necessary. This way, your cleaning regime becomes easier, faster, and safer.
And I have a question.
Sure.
You just thought, I think show that when Mr.
Nate.
Nathan use the cotton bud
Yes,
to take all this germ,
yes.
and I only see
Hmm.
only few drops,
Yeah.
like those highlight area.
Yes.
But this area that did
You
not
didn't
have-
see the highlight.
You want us to put a drop
Would you
on?
like to put a drop there?
You do it.
Yes, why don't you do it? This particular tile I did myself. I did the spray, clean, let it dry, and then I didn't have to do the whole thing. I just wanted to try this bit and this bit, and then when I was satisfied that it was covered, I could do the whole thing. Very important, thank you. When the monitor sits on, where's the food? Sits on this area, that area is still effective. The monitor does not sit on top of it. It highlights the chemical, but it is still working. That is still killing, although there's a monitor on it. All right, let's leave it there sitting for a bit. Is this my table or their table? Is their table? I can get it a little bit wet. We'll wash it off. Okay. Pick it up. Lights, please. Dun, dun, drum roll.
Just try it.
Yeah. There it is. All right. That's your dollop. That's where you put it on. So it is highlighted there. The other areas are still highlighted with the G-kill in there, and where you put it in, there it is. So this area is well covered with Super CLA. And that's why the result is 1,000 compared to 31,000.
Whatever, 30 plus.
30,000 plus. So we are 30 times better than the natural plate.
The plastic's on the inside, and people say, wow, it's awfully big. Well, what it's good for is coating irregular surfaces. You can grab doorknobs, door handles, you can grab toilet handles and fixtures, and make sure that they're coated where you naturally touch anyway. Then the idea behind the monitor is to put it on those areas where everybody's touching. That way, that's the one that's going to wear off the fastest, and that way you can tell when to reapply. Then you can look at the other big areas. Oh, let's try a drop over here, let's try a drop over here. So this is really a very economical way to check. Not only that the microbial is working, but the cleaning people are working too.
Yes.